she said. It was just a drunk mistake. So I canceled the wedding, emptied our account, and left her with nothing. I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but life has a strange way of forcing stories out of you. I'm 34, and for the last 4 years, I was in a relationship that I thought would last forever. Emma and I started dating when we were both in our late 20s, and everything just fit. She was funny, smart, and beautiful in a way that always drew people toward her. I wasn't flashy, not the loudest guy in the room, but she said she liked that about me. We moved in together after 2 years, and a year later, I proposed. She said yes with tears in her eyes. At the time, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. We had a wedding planned for 6 months out. Nothing extravagant, but something we'd both dreamed of, a gathering of friends and family, the kind of celebration that marks the start of a lifetime together. I worked hard, saved what I could, and slowly, piece by piece, we built what felt like a stable, happy life. But there was always one piece of the puzzle that never quite fit: her friends. Emma's circle of bridesmaids and closest girlfriends were the party until 4 a.m. kind of people. The type who loved shots on weekdays, spontaneous road trips, and wild nights they half remembered the next morning. I wasn't built like that. My idea of a good Friday night was pizza, maybe a movie, maybe just laughing on the couch. They teased me about being the old man, even though I was barely older than any of them. It never really bothered me, but something in my gut told me they weren't exactly rooting for Emma to settle down. Still, I trusted her. Completely. Or at least, I thought I did. When the talk of a bachelorette party in Las Vegas came up, I laughed it off. I wasn't thrilled. I'd seen enough movies to know what Vegas could mean, but I wasn't going to be the insecure fiancé who tried to stop her from going. Instead, I slipped her a little extra cash, kissed her, and told her, "Go have fun, just don't come back with a hangover and a tattoo." She laughed, kissed me back, and said the kind of words you hold on to in a relationship. "You don't ever have to worry about me." Looking back, I wish I hadn't believed her so easily. The weekend of her trip started like any other. I stayed home, kept busy, even took on the project of building an IKEA bookshelf that had been sitting unopened for weeks. I wasn't worried. She texted me when they landed, a few emojis, a love you, at the end. I smiled, put the phone down, and thought that was that. Then, on the second night, my phone buzzed with a message I'll never forget. It wasn't from Emma. It wasn't even from anyone I knew. It was a direct message on Instagram from a stranger. "Hey, I don't know you, but I think your fiancé is at the same club as me in Vegas. You should probably see this." Attached were photos. I clicked, almost casually, not prepared for what I was about to see. And there she was, Emma. No mistaking her face, her hair, the dress she'd picked out for the trip. She was in a VIP booth, sitting on some guy's lap. Not just sitting. She was kissing him. The kind of kiss you don't give when you're days away from marrying someone else. When I first saw those pictures, my brain refused to process them. I stared at my phone, zooming in like maybe, somehow, it wasn't her. Maybe it was a lookalike. Maybe it was Photoshop. I wanted so badly for there to be another explanation. But then came the video. The same stranger sent me a short clip, shaky and loud from the club music. And there was Emma, clear as day, making out with this guy like she didn't have a fiancé waiting at home. Her friends were right there too, cheering, recording on their phones, clapping like it was some kind of twisted performance. That's when it hit me. Not a slow, creeping realization. It was like my body just shut down. My heart was pounding, but at the same time, I felt cold, almost detached. I wanted to call her, to scream into the phone and demand what the hell she was doing. I wanted to send the video to her parents, to her friends, to anyone who would listen. But instead, something in me went quiet. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just saved everything. Screenshots, videos, timestamps. Every single piece of evidence. Hours passed, and I sat there in silence, the half-assembled bookshelf still leaning against the wall. It wasn't until the next morning that Emma finally called. Her voice was bubbly, almost childish. "Vegas is wild, babe. I miss you." I forced my voice steady. "Yeah? Having fun." She laughed. "Too much fun. My head is killing me. I can't wait to get back to you." I played along, calm, even cheerful. "I'll pick you up from the airport when you get back." She had no clue. That was the moment things shifted in my head. It wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about control. She thought she had me wrapped up, waiting at home like some fool. She thought I was blind. But she didn't know I already had everything I needed to walk away. Here's the thing about weddings. They're expensive, complicated, and a logistical nightmare. But in our case, I had been the one doing the heavy lifting. Every deposit for the venue, catering, photographer, booked under my name, on my credit. The honeymoon account, almost entirely funded by me. The apartment lease, in my name too. Emma's family hadn't paid for a single thing. Not a dime. And I knew, in that moment, that this would be my way out. Quiet. Clean. On my terms. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started planning. While she was still out partying in Vegas, drunk and oblivious, I was making phone calls, contacting the venue, reviewing contracts, calculating what I could salvage from the wreckage. I learned quickly that yes, I'd lose some deposits, but the money lost now would be nothing compared to what I'd lose in a lifetime married to a cheater. Every move I made carefully, deliberately, and all the while, I kept a smile on my face when she called or texted. She thought she was coming home to the same man she left behind. She had no idea. When Emma's flight finally landed, I was waiting at the airport like nothing had changed. I hugged her, kissed her cheek, carried her luggage to the car. She smelled faintly of perfume and alcohol, that stale mix of late nights and hotel rooms. I didn't flinch. I acted like the same fiancé she left behind, smiling, asking how her trip was. She went on and on about the shows, the clubs, the food. She even showed me photos, carefully curated ones, of course. Her with her friends, drinks in hand, dancing, posing by neon lights. Not a single trace of the night I knew about. She kept glancing at me like she was searching for reassurance, and I gave it to her. I nodded, laughed, played my part. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was unraveling everything we had built together. First came the venue. I called, explained that circumstances had changed, and though I lost part of the deposit, most of it was refunded since the wedding was still months away. Catering? Cancelled. Photographer? Same. Each call felt like taking back a piece of my life. Then I drained the joint honeymoon account, transferring everything back to my personal savings. I left her with a couple $100, more than she deserved. The apartment lease was in my name, and I gave notice to the landlord. I could cover the penalty. She couldn't. When the dust settled, I had untangled nearly every tie that bound us. And she still had no idea. The calmness in me surprised even myself. I wasn't raging. I wasn't falling apart. I was steady, like I had already made peace with the decision. Finally, the night came when I decided to lay it all out. I printed the photos and the video the stranger had sent me, slipped them into a plain envelope. I didn't write anything on it, didn't add a note. Just the evidence. I invited her out to dinner at one of our usual places. She dressed up, smiling across the table like nothing was wrong, chattering about how she'd told her coworkers all about our wedding plans. I listened, nodded, even poured her a glass of wine. Then I slid the envelope across the table. She frowned, confused, and opened it. Her face drained of color instantly. She flipped through the photos quickly, her breathing shallow, before she froze on the video thumbnail. She tapped it, and as the clip played with the muffled music in the background, her hand shook just slightly. When it ended, she looked at me with wide, panicked eyes. It was just a stupid mistake. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. Her voice cracked at the end, and for a second, I almost pitied her. Almost. I stood up, reached into my pocket, and placed enough cash on the table to cover the bill. Then I looked her in the eyes and said calmly, "Good. Then it won't mean anything when I cancel everything tomorrow." I walked out, leaving her sitting there with the envelope, her wine untouched, her mouth half open like she wanted to say more, but didn't know how. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Because for the first time since I saw those pictures, I wasn't carrying the weight anymore. I'd put it back on her shoulders, exactly where it belonged. The morning after that dinner, I started making the final calls. Venue, canceled. Catering, gone. Photographer, released from the contract. Every time I hit confirm, I felt lighter. There were penalties, sure, but I didn't care. What mattered was that I was walking away before signing up for a lifetime with someone I couldn't trust. Emma tried calling me. At first, it was texts, "Can we talk?" and "Please don't overreact." Then came the voicemails, her voice strained, switching between tearful and angry. I didn't answer, but it didn't take long for her parents to get involved. Her mom called me first, her voice sweet but firm. "It was just a kiss," she said. "Don't throw away 4 years over one mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Emma loves you." I stayed quiet for a moment before answering. "She didn't just kiss him. And if you want, I can show you the video." The line went silent. Later that evening, her dad called, his tone very different. "You can't just cancel everything. We'll take you to court for the deposits you lost. You're making a fool out of my daughter." I almost laughed. Everything was under my name. My money. My credit. I have receipts for every cent. But if you'd like to go public, I'd be more than happy to show the evidence to every guest on our wedding list. You can explain to them why your daughter was making out with someone else in Vegas while I was at home. This time, he went quiet. Then he muttered something about needing time and hung up. That was the last I heard from either of them. Meanwhile, word spread fast in our small town. You can't cancel a wedding without people asking questions, and Emma wasn't exactly careful about covering her tracks. The story trickled out. first in whispers, then in outright gossip. People knew. Her friends tried to spin it, saying it was just a Vegas thing, everyone does it, but not everyone was buying that. The photos and videos spoke for themselves. Emma moved back in with her parents within a week. I didn't see her again. Mutual friends told me she cried for days, saying she'd ruined the best thing she ever had. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing that, just clarity. Because as much as I loved her once, I couldn't erase the image of her on someone else's lap, her friends cheering her on. That wasn't love. That was betrayal. And the truth is, if I had ignored it, if I had married her anyway, I would have been the guy who knew and chose to look away. I would have been living with that gnawing feeling forever. Instead, I chose myself. I lost a fiancé, but I kept my dignity. I cut ties cleanly, before vows, before rings, before lawyers and messy divorces. And honestly, that was the first smart decision I'd made in months. In the weeks after it all blew up, I kept thinking about that Instagram message, the one that set everything in motion. Without it, I would have been walking down an aisle 6 months later, smiling for photos, saying vows to someone who had already decided I wasn't enough. I never responded right away, but after everything settled, I went back to that DM. I sent a simple message. Thank you. You probably saved me from years of misery. The reply came quickly. No problem. I couldn't sit there and watch her brag about it. That's when I learned the whole story. The woman who messaged me wasn't just some random clubgoer. She was the cousin of the guy Emma had been kissing that night. She hadn't even planned on going out, but got dragged to the club by friends. And while she was there, she saw Emma, the bride-to-be, wearing a sash that literally said bachelorette, perched on her cousin's lap. Apparently, Emma wasn't shy about talking either. Between rounds of shots, she told the group she was about to marry some IT nerd back home, but tonight she was free. She laughed about how she deserved one last wild night before locking herself down. The cousin didn't find it funny. She hated cheaters. So she filmed it, snapped photos, and made sure I got them. Reading that message, I sat back and let it all sink in. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just too many drinks. Emma had bragged about it. She had diminished me to strangers, called me an IT nerd, like the life we'd built together was some kind of joke. And she did it while I was at home, piecing together furniture for our apartment. That part stung the most. Not the kiss, not even the betrayal, but the way she erased me in front of others, reduced me to a punchline. The irony of it all hit me then. Emma used to tease me for being cautious, for being the guy who checked receipts, tracked expenses, and thought 10 steps ahead. She'd roll her eyes and say I worried too much. But it was exactly those habits that saved me. Because every venue, every payment, every contract, it was all in my name. She thought I was boring, but in the end, boring protected me. I messaged the cousin back one last time. Best DM I've ever received. And I meant it. After that, I let the conversation drop. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need to post the photos or show the videos around. People already knew enough. Emma had to live with the fact that she destroyed her own wedding, her own engagement, her own future. I, on the other hand, walked away lighter. Not unscathed. Heartbreak doesn't work like that, but lighter. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come to you in a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it slips into your inbox on a random Saturday night while you're building a bookshelf. And sometimes it saves your life. It's been months since all of this went down, and I've had time to sit with it. To process not just what Emma did, but what it revealed about us, about me, about the relationship I thought I was in. At first, I replayed everything in my head. The proposal, the nights we stayed up planning our future, the way she'd talk about our wedding like it was the happiest thing on her horizon. And I asked myself, was any of it real? Or was she just biding her time until something better came along? The truth I've landed on is this. It was real, at least for a while. I think she did love me in her own way, but her version of love wasn't the same as mine. To her, love meant stability, someone who'd catch her when she stumbled. To me, love meant loyalty, trust, building something unshakable. We weren't speaking the same language, and eventually, it caught up to us. Emma tried reaching out after the dust settled. She sent long texts, apologizing, saying she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She told me she'd never forgive herself, that she'd thrown away the one person who truly cared about her. I didn't respond. What was there left to say? If she needed closure, she could find it elsewhere. Her regret didn't move me. By then, it wasn't about what she felt. It was about what I deserved. And I knew I deserved better than being second choice to a drunken night in Vegas. There were moments when I wondered if I'd been too cold, too calculated in how I ended things. Should I have given her another chance? Should I have yelled, cried, demanded explanations? But every time that thought crept in, I pictured her on that man's lap, laughing with her friends, bragging about being free. And I knew I'd done the right thing. What surprised me the most was how quickly life filled back in after she was gone. The apartment felt quieter, sure, but it also felt like mine again. I reassembled my plans, reimagined my future. Friends I hadn't seen much of during the engagement came back into my life. Even my family said they hadn't seen me this at peace in years. And Emma? From what I've heard, she's still living with her parents. She keeps a low profile around town. People still whisper when her name comes up, about how the wedding was called off, about how she messed up. I don't celebrate her downfall, but I won't lie. Part of me is glad the truth is out there. She doesn't get to rewrite the story. So here I am, single again at 34. Not bitter, not broken, just older, wiser, and more careful about who I trust with my heart. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.